All right, hey everybody. My name is Chris Mallet, and I'm the co-founder of Practice Space. I just want to thank all of you for joining us for the second webinar in our summer webinar series with different teachers who use Practice Space. We're really here to help you not just get the most out of Practice Space, but to also share some extra tips on running your studio and working with your students. Today, I'm joined with three fantastic teachers, Marie Lee, Jodie Carter, and Marcy Davis. They all have their own unique spin on teaching group classes. Marie is the co-founder of Group Illuminated, a leading resource for group teaching. Jodie is the owner of PianoBox, which is full of creative games for students. And Marcy is the owner of Quick Start Piano, which focuses on adult group classes. So we'll get some great insights on engaging adult learners as well and getting them started on Practice Space. Before we jump in, if you haven't tried Practice Space yet, you can grab a free 30-day trial at practicespaceapp.com. So now we can get started. Each of our guests will share a short presentation, and we'll keep it open for your questions throughout. You can just drop them in the chat on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll go ahead and have a Q&A at the end too. So thanks for being here. So let's go ahead and dive in. So before we get started, I'd like to just start by asking each of you, why did you decide to start using Practice Space with your studios?
I will jump in, and this might be everybody's answer, but during COVID, we had to do something online. And so I think, was it called Tonara, that other company? I think we jumped in and literally overnight took our studios online. And then when they went out of business, I kind of had my eye on Practice Space, but I knew that was where I wanted to jump into. So I love Practice Space. I cannot manage. I've got over 100 students. I cannot manage all of these classes without just the flexibility and just everything in one spot at Practice Space. I love it.
Awesome.
I love Practice Space because I used to hand make these books because we love PianoBox. We love to handcraft these things. And it was taking so much time. And I would write out each student's what they need to do and what they need to practice. And so I tried printing it off, and it was still so much stuff, right? And then I wanted to send them links, like the backing tracks and all this stuff. And you don't want to email this to everybody. So it is so awesome when I learned about Practice Space from Marie, and then Chris, you explained it to me. It just made so much sense. And then they get rewards for practicing. I mean, these kids love to press play and get their practice minutes in, and then turn these gems in for their rewards in the studio. So I love Practice Space, and it's streamlined so much.
Awesome.
And yes, Practice Space for us solved a problem. I use backing tracks for literally everything. And the question I heard over and over again was always, how do I get to my backing tracks? I can't find the backing tracks anymore. Where did they go? And so, yeah, that really made it a lot easier, so much easier in the little app.
Yeah, awesome. And then just for quick reference before we get to the presentations, I just wanted to share my screen really quick and just show everyone, if you haven't created a group in Practice Space yet, it's incredibly easy. All you do is go to the My Students tab, and then you click Add New, click Group, you put the name of the group, and then Next. Then you just add the students that you want to be a part of that group. And then after that, all you have to do is literally just create a lesson like you would with a private student. But the fantastic thing is that the lesson that you create and all the assignments go out to everyone in that group. So it saves a ton of time. So you don't have to make individual lesson for each of those students. It'll go to everyone no matter how big the group size is. And the extra benefit is that it will also create a group chat where students can also share videos and files and everything with you in there. So one thing we really like to do at our school here at the California Conservatory of Music is create little virtual studio classes for the students when we create a group. So then students can upload videos, they can interact with each other. And it's really fun, especially for the students who have been here for like a decade. that have known each other for a really long time. They're really busy in high school. They might not see each other in real life, but they'll be able to see each other in these group chats and kind of chat with each other. So just a really short, quick tutorial on how to create a group. So now let's go ahead, Marie, why don't we jump in and you can go ahead and share your slides.
Awesome. Okay, before I jump in on slides, when I started trying to decide what to share today, I get this question a lot. So I'm going to answer this too. So a lot of people say, how do you teach an ensemble to 8 different students in a class? And just back on, let me just tell you what our summer schedule is like. So first of all, you got to have some time for that. So I do teach summer classes. It's an abbreviated schedule. I'm calling my summer June, July, August, even though our kiddos started school this week. And I have 8 classes through the summer. And the main purpose of those classes is to learn their ensembles for Federation Ensemble, National Federation of Music Clubs Ensemble Festival, which keeps getting earlier and earlier this year. So it's September 20th. If the kids don't learn it during the summer, we're not going to have time. And so I wanted to just share how they did that. Now, if you're not familiar with a festival, it's not a competition, but students perform on a stage and they're on there with their teams. So we'll have trios or quartets, teams on a stage in front of 3 judges, and they're judged on a set rating sheet from the National Federation. And they're trying, of course, to get a superior. They get points, feedback, which is really helpful. And those points go toward trophies that they're trying to earn. So it's a huge retention tool in our studio. So pre-COVID, my approach was to teach all of the parts of an ensemble in the class so the kids could learn every part of the trio, every part of the quartet, and then choose their parts. And so that's how we did it. COVID, as I mentioned before, got us on practice space, having to do everything digitally. And I figured out a new system that is actually really time efficient, and I have used it ever since. So I'm not going to go back. So I create tutorial videos for the students to learn. I upload those to the practice space assignment, like Jodie mentioned. Everything's in one spot, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. But the students, it's their job to learn their part at home on their own time. And then we spend class time putting the parts together, which is way more fun. And it's fun because it's hard when you're listening to an ensemble. If you ever play an ensemble, you play your one part and go, oh, this is not really exciting at all. And then you hear it with the group and it's like, wow, that sounds really good. And it's amazing if these kids will put in the work at home, what we can get done in class. So I'm going to just show you what that looks like on practice space. Oh, hang on. I need to share my screen, don't I? Let's see.
I love the idea of piano ensembles. You know, I'm a classical guitarist, so we have spent half of my life playing ensemble music. So we're used to hearing our parts alone, but piano ensembles, that's just so exciting. It's really cool to, I'd love to hear one.
It's fun. And you know what? I mean, it's like an orchestra or a band, right? So this gives these kids a chance to, I read somebody posted this once and they just said, we could learn a lot from bands and orchestras because these kids keep coming, and that band is their tribe, and that's their group, and we're able to provide that for kids through a piano ensemble team. Can you see that screen okay? Are we good? Awesome. Okay, so this is I just pulled a class off of practice space, and this is their weekly assignment. So you can see what that looks like just as the kids will open that one up, and you can see I've got some technique, some other assignments, but if you look down below where it says tutorial, the kids have 2 pieces that they're learning for Ensemble Festival, and I've actually labeled that. That's Midnight Rider and Hit the Ground Running. I want you to know I label it as tutorial because I want the kids to see, oh, it's just, don't gloss over this because this is going to be what's going to help you at home. So I always label it tutorial in all caps so they can see that. Okay, so here's inside. So as I go, let's see, here's my, whoops, let me back up. Sorry. Okay, breaking that down. And I know this is really tiny because I have 10 assignments on there, 10 attachments, I'm sorry. I've got the parts listed up at the top. So you can see this is a trio. And in case the kids forget or the sticky tab comes off of their music, they can see which part that they're playing. And then down below, you can see that I've created tutorial videos. Some parts took more than one tutorial video. I did create those on Loom. I like to record there, and then I just upload the links. But if you use YouTube, there might even be a way to do this on Practice Space, Chris, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I need to jump in and try this. It makes so much easier just to do it all in one spot too. So Practice Space will do this. I need to take a look at that and learn how to do that. And then I've also included recordings, like a practice recording, a little bit slower tempo so they can play their individual part. And then down at the bottom, you can see like a performance video, which is actually a performance track that they can play along with. So that's how they hear how their part sounds with the others. That saves valuable amount of time. I tell the students, if you're not practicing with the performance track, you are not practicing this ensemble correctly. So you need to be able to play that. So you're able to do that with your group. And a nice thing really about Practice Space is that I save this assignment and then I can come back to this year after year. Everything, it's like a Google folder. Everything's in one spot. And it can be used over and over again. And just so you know, this Midnight Writer Trio by Melody Bober, this is probably our 8th year on this. So I have no lesson planning or anything I have to do. I just have to pop in the new names, share it with the right group, and it is good to go for the next year of Ensemble Festival. All right, let me pop into... All right, let me pop into a couple more things right here that I just wanted to share really, really quick. This is, Jodie was talking about gems and points. You can kind of see that on the top. And during the summer, I adapted a jelly bean progress challenge. And if you've seen Samantha Coates present this is what it's all about. Anyway, I can share more on that. During the school year, I follow her approach, which means some progress beans or jelly beans get subtracted depending on how many days the student did not practice. But during the summer, with kids traveling, I am just awarding a jelly bean per day of practice. We call them progress beans. So, and I'll always ask the kids, hey, how does progress taste? And they're like, sweet. So I want them to know progress tastes good. And I want you to know too, this surprised me, but the teens ask for their progress beans. They want their little jelly beans. Just either 4 jelly beans or their 5 jelly beans, whatever they did this week, because it's just a sweet motivator of the work they put in, and that even, 10 minutes of practice equals progress. We have run out of jelly beans, so I'm moving on to progress M&Ms and progress Sour Patch Kids, but the kids want to keep it going, so we're going to keep that going. Okay, and then one more slide. I just wanted to show, people have asked about this too, so I'm answering this question. This is just some motivation to get kids in checking their Practice Space assignments, and it's called The Secret Message. And this was another teacher's idea, and I wish I knew who that was so I could actually credit them for this, but it's the best idea. So I just hide a secret message inside one of the assignments, because I tell the kids that you need to go in and not just look at your assignments, but you need to tap them open and see what's inside, because I have set you up for success. So if you can see here on the left, I highlighted it, but this was when we were learning the Boo Ensemble, which is from Dorla Aparicio's Piano Pyramid. We were learning that ensemble, and I just made up a fake title, Rhythm Practice, to see if they'd open it up. And then when they open it up, here in the middle in the top, there's the assignment details. And this is where I put the secret message. So you can see it says, shh, this is a secret message. If you see this message, please do da, 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 and send it back to me individually in the chat, and I will give you a prize at class. And then down here at the bottom, Cadence, this is Cadence sending me a recording, and it was her name in Morse code. So I sent them a sheet. I attached a sheet of Morse code letters, and then she just had to tap it back on a D key and send that to me, the secret message. I want you to know that is a huge motivator when kids come back to class and not everybody gets their prize for the secret message. They're like, where is it? I want that. And they feel left out. They want that in there. And so I want everybody checking it. And so I will a lot of times just say, you've got one more day. You've got a 24-hour extension. I need you to get on and check your messages. But this is a huge motivator. It also helps, of course, the more kids are practicing and the more progress they're making, and it's better retention, because that's bottom line, we can make it as fun as possible in our classes. But if kids are not progressing, they feel awkward coming to class, they want to be caught up with their class, they want to be able to play their music well. And this is how we do it. And it's practice, darn it. It's that P word, but that's how we get progress, and that's how we get retention and get kids sticking around a long time.
Totally agree. That's why we stuck in those practice streaks, like we were doing streaks at our school before practice space. And like when kids would go up and start getting a 50 days, 100 days, especially 100 days, once they get there, it's like, okay, they're going to be sticking around for a while.
Unstoppable. Yeah.
That daily practice. And I love the secret. I'm glad you brought up the secret message. I was going to ask you about that because I really love that idea. And it's such a creative way to get students to look at
it's easy. Yeah. But I mean, it's a little dishonest, but I'm not beyond that.
We have a couple of questions for you in the chat here.
Okay.
Someone asked, do you have a jar for each student or each team/class? I think probably referring to the
jelly bean, the progress beans. That's what we call them. They're not jelly beans, they're progress beans. I know I had to work through that. So I have plastic baggies, which I hate. And I tell the kids, do not lose your baggie. And they always do. But they have a little plastic baggie. I have the big jar from Sam's Club of M&Ms or jelly beans and a little sanitary scoop, and we scoop it into their baggie. I do have some Jewish students, and so we've had to make some kosher modifications, but it works. There's kosher treats out there, and so they like that. We have to keep those separate too, but nobody gets to touch the beans but me with the little scoop. Yeah.
And then one more question. Someone was asking about the Morse code and what they're actually sending you. Can you explain that more?
Oh, yeah. It was probably hard to see. So in my secret message, first of all, we were learning Boo, Piano Pyramids Boo, and the rhythm is based on Morse code for Boo. I think it's BOO in Morse code. So that was kind of the rhythm of the chorus. And so in the assignments, I had to tap it open. In the assignments, I said, hey, we're learning this rhythm. It's based on Morse code. I've attached a Morse code sheet. I want you to find the letters of your name, and I want you to get on a D key, and I want you to send me a recording of you playing your name in Morse code. And that's all they had to do, is send it back. And then I have a special prize for them. I don't do this often. I want you to maybe not even once a month. It's kind of quarterly. Actually, it's not. I have no system. Just whenever I want, I'm like, you guys need to get in here. I'm going to do a secret message, but I don't tell them, of course, because then it's not a secret.
That's awesome. I'm going to steal some of these ideas.
Yeah, but anything. Like one time was like, just send me a picture of you playing in your Halloween costume or in your pajamas. Or, I mean, get creative. It's just basically you're trying to reply with your what you ate for breakfast this morning, or just anything. It doesn't have to be involved.
Yeah, Halloween's coming up. In your Halloween costume. Awesome. Well, thank you, Marie. That was great. And now, thanks. Jodie, go ahead. And if you need to share your screen, I'll go ahead and let you on here.
Okay. Can you guys hear me good?
Yep.
So, Marie, your ideas, I was just taking notes. You are so awesome. I love learning from Marie, everybody. She is amazing. So I'm going to do some progress. I love that idea for practicing. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep. It's all clear.
It's all clear. Okay, great. So mine is so much fun, using games to engage and motivate group piano students. I love the power of games. The three most things people tell me when they talk to me is, I don't have time for games. Games are silly. Why would, they don't say silly, but they kind of, I'm trying to put it in a nice way, stick their nose up and say, no, I'm too good for that. Or they say, well, I have so many different types of levels. And so how does this one game help me across the board? So this is what I'm here to tell you and help in all those different things. So I did want to do a little shout out. We have an app, PianoBox Plus, and you can put this on Practice Space, a link to it. And it's awesome for key signatures. And this is for any musical instrument that you're playing. There's a major version and a minor version. So the major version is the major key signatures, and it's a simple matching game, and it really helps them solidify those understanding of key signatures. So I just wanted to put a shout out. Check out PianoBox Plus. Okay, so really quick, just a why. So the why games are so important. It is so much more fun to learn. And when you are having fun learning, it is going to stick with you. It engages them. It creates instant motivation. If you're just saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, it's going to get just hard for them. But if it's a game and something is motivating them and they're like, oh, I want to win, or it's just fun. It makes it fun. It makes them motivated to learn. It makes it memorable, and you can do so many different levels. So I'm going to give you a few examples of how to differentiate each game or activity for each student. It's repetition without boredom. Let's play this. Let's play this again. You need to be quicker on identifying intervals or identifying these notes. It's a safe place for mistakes. It's okay. No problem. You got it wrong. Let's try again next time. Like I have a fishing game. And if they grab the fish, they play the note correctly. Good job. Put that in your pile. If they play the wrong note, that's okay. Let's fix it. And then put that back into the pond and you can fish for it again and try again. So it's just a great safe place for mistake is to play games. So examples of these theory games, there are so many that I love, and I love not only my PianoBox games. I play so many different companies. The more resources in your toolbox, the better. So all skill levels can play these games. So I'm going to give you an example. So glissando, the first one you see there, this is like chutes and ladders, but on the grand staff. And you start your piece up at the very top on start. You roll either one dice for a slower game. I like rolling 2 dice per student so that it's just really quick. So say they rolled 2 5s, they would move their piece 10 notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Depending on the color that they land on is what they're going to do. So if they land on a green, they actually glide up and down the glissando. So green means go, and they have to name the notes that they land on. But if you are playing with beginner students, very brand new, you would say, did your note, what note you landed on? Is it treble or bass clef? And which line or space is it? So treble clef, space 2. From the very first day of lessons, they can name that because you just say, this is treble clef, this is bass clef. I have posters to help with that. And I'm going to tell you in a minute just how this all ties in to how I use practice space to help me with these. But I just wanted to give you a preview of some of the fun things that we can do in lessons, in group lessons. So like if they land on a purple, they go again, so forth. For more advanced, so more intermediate, they would name the note, like if they landed on bass clef, line number 5, the very top line, they're going to say that's an A. For more advanced, they have to go play a specific chord. So that note is an A, go play an A chord, A major chord, A minor chord, something like that. You can level each game. 88 keys and this is the mini version. We have mini versions of each game, but this is a fun race to the finish. You start your pieces on the beginning of the keyboard, the very lowest part, and you're working to the highest part. You pick a card and you do what it says for your turn. So there's intervals and skips and steps and whole steps, half steps, ties and repeat signs and rests. It's just a kind of mixture of everything to really get them good at their keyboard geography. So students who are more advanced, you are going to have them draw on a grand staff what note they land on 88 keys. That helps them with making this game harder for them. Like, okay, you landed on this note. Where is that on this grand staff? For more beginners who can't do these things, they don't maybe know their notes yet or their intervals, you just help them and you say, this is, or make it easier. So if they can't do sharps and flats yet, just do an A. You don't have to do the A sharp or something like that. So just change if you're playing with a group, change each question or how they have to answer to match their level. So every single game can be differentiated. That is my favorite thing, is differentiation for multiple levels. Vivace, this is a fun symbols game. Those are actually symbols you can hold in your hand. When you take symbols of music off of the page and actually feel them and play with them, they all of a sudden, then they go to their page and they're like, oh, I know what that symbol is. So Vivace comes with all these different levels of hands. The blue hands are pictures of the symbols. So simple game is just a matching game, the symbol and the picture. That would be a very beginner level. The second level, it says the name of the symbol. So it'll say like quarter note, natural sign, and they have to match those. The third level are the yellow cards. They tell you the definition. So they have to match the definition to the symbol. So if you're in a multi-level class, you're going to give all the blue hands to the beginner student, all the purple hands to your level 2 student, all your yellow hands to your level 3 or intermediate advanced student. And then they have to, all the symbols are laying out, and they have to put their hands on top of the symbols. The other way to play this is to put all the symbols in the center in a circle, and students sit in a circle, and you have a caller. I like to have the caller be a student, but you can do it at first to teach them how to do it. And you can only grab the musical symbol if you say Vivace. So I would say, and I use the word Vivace because it teaches that term in a lively and brisk manner. So you would say Vivace triplet, and you have to grab the triplet, or Vivace quarter note, and you have to grab the quarter note. But if I don't say Vivace, they can't grab it. And I can also do this with definitions if I want this to be harder. So Vivace, it cancels a sharp or a flat. So they would have to grab the rest. And then whoever grabs it the fastest gets to keep it in their pile. And if you touch the wrong one, you can't grab it. Anyways, that's a great musical symbols off the page, learning those. Fishy notes and fishy intervals, like I talked about a little bit earlier, is you have either, there's the 3 different levels. So color coordinated. So you can play with all the students in your group or just a private student, and you would grab that specific color that you're working on. Now, I do want to go back to what I said about time. You can set a timer and say, we only have 2 minutes to do this fishy game. I want you to grab fishy, come up to the piano, play it. Grab fishy, come up to the piano, play it. Let's see how many fish you can get in 2 minutes. So timers are a great tool if you're short on time. These can be as long or short as you want. For glissando, you just say, roll 2 dice, roll 3 dice. Every turn, you're going to roll 4 dice. You can make this a really fast game. So the symbols game, just do a few matches or have them pull out a symbol out of the black bag it comes in, and they have to name that symbol. So everything can be used, even if you just don't know where to put it. It's all about trying to figure out what theory game will help your students and how you can use it. Don't just, okay, this game, I have to play it this way. No, use it how it will help you. We want this to work for you, right? You and your students think, okay, how can I use this? So anyways, the fishy intervals have 3 different levels. So the level 1 is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Level 2, 6th, 7th, 8th. And level 3, the orange, are compound intervals, which are really hard, and they're both melodic and harmonic. Middle C is another great one. It is our newest game, 2 large boards. Marie, have you played this yet? I don't know.
Oops, sorry, I was unmuted. Yeah. Yes, they love it. They love it. Yeah, this is great. And teens, everybody like this one. Probably a little bit better for older students, but there's probably ways to adapt this. So that's why I'm listening, Jodie.
I play it with my day 1 beginners. This is how you do it. You would say treble clef or bass clef, right? And then line 1 or space 1 or line 2 or space 2. I would play with just half the board, like measure 1 and measure 2. And then more advanced, you're creating inversions. I want you to do a first inversion in measure 1, a second inversion in measure 2, and a third, anyways. So maybe you could do intervals. So like 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever. It's really fun. And then you guess. So one group is on bass clef and one group is on treble clef, and you take turns guessing each other's. So those are just some fun examples of games. So something new that has helped so much is games are amazing and they help motivate, but it's also good to support those theory lessons that you're doing. The game is a great tool, but it helps to have other tools included with the game on that same subject so that it can click for them. You have to expose students to these different theory concepts because they are hard in different ways so that it clicks. So theory packs from PianoBox have all these different materials all on that one topic. So I have weekly theory focuses. So rhythm would be our first week, keyboard is our next week, numbers and fingers, then the staff, then notes, then intervals, then symbols. It all builds on each other. So you can't really understand what until you understand rhythm. You can't really understand why. And it's just building. So you're learning the same concept with a workbook, with flashcards, with a poster, with a hands-on activity, and a game. So those were just games that I showed. These theory packs are just kind of an all-inclusive. It has a plan of how to teach these concepts in more than just playing a game. This is how Practice Space has helped so much. I'm really excited to show you this next part. So the weekly theory topics that I talked about are on Practice Space. So, oh, it's like playing for me. Okay, maybe it'll be okay now. I don't know. Oh, it's not going to be good. Maybe. So you practice your flashcards and the posters on Practice Space prior to coming to lessons. If you have practiced those flashcards and you've taken a look at the posters that I've attached on Practice Space, they are ready for the game that's coming. So for example, if we're doing a rhythm focus that week, they have rhythm flashcards that they can do on either Bamboozle or Quizlet. And they click this link and they can go home, practice each day their flashcards so that when they come and play the game, they are ready. They know all this. There is beginner and intermediate level for all of this. So I have the beginner flashcards that I'll send to level 1 and 2s and more intermediate flashcards for those who already have a good foundation. So let me show you what this looks like. Hopefully it's still, yep, okay, everything's good. So here's the theory flashcards. I just have a link on Practice Space that says practice your weekly rhythm flashcards. And then the next week would say practice your weekly keyboard flashcards. And it takes them to Bamboozle or Quizlet. And if you can see here, there's tons of different games they can play at home on a computer or on a tablet from Practice Space. They just click the link and it opens up the games and they can play it as long as they would like until they feel familiar with those flashcards. The theory posters, which are part of the PianoBox packs, I've put on Practice Space for them to pull up and actually study. Sometimes I'm trying to hit all those learning modes, right? There's visual learners. This would be for the visual learners. There's those, hands-on learners. Those games are really good for those hands-on learners. There's reading and writing learners, which is why we have the flashcards. So it's trying to teach these theory concepts in more than one learning mode. So it makes it super fun, and Practice Space makes them prepared for the theory concept that we're going to cover in lessons. So love the Practice Space challenges that I'm excited to start this next one, which is a practice challenge. They have to do 5 in a row of practicing their theory. So using those flashcards and looking at the posters. If they do 5 in a row, then they'll get a candy bar. So we'll see. Maybe I'll have to change that. Maybe that's too generous. Maybe M&Ms. 5 M&Ms. I don't know. I love Marnie's idea of the progress M&Ms. But I'm excited to try this Practice Space challenge. I love that we can incorporate so many different tools on Practice Space. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'll stop presenting my screen.
Thank you, Jodie. That was great. We have a couple of questions here in the chat. Someone asked, do you buy the theory pack for each student? Is that?
No, the theory pack is for the studio.
Okay.
to use for there is a workbook, and that workbook you can use as a guide for you to teach, or you can get a workbook for each student.
Mhm.
And those will
Okay.
be available digitally soon so that we can use them on Practice Space, and they'll just click on their workbook.
Oh,
So
fantastic. Fantastic. I love how it can incorporate, you just put the link attachment in there and it
yes,
goes, that's fantastic.
so awesome.
Yeah. And then one other question for you. Do you feel like Bambuzi or Quizlet is easier for creating your reviews?
I think Quizlet because, and that's, I was trying to be more updated with the kids and do Bamboozle, but Quizlet I just feel is really simple. So,
Okay, great.
because both are great. And there's a lot of different options too out there for flashcards.
Yeah.
But yeah. And
Awesome.
I would be happy if you get the PianoBox toolkits, if you have those. I would be happy to share my folder of those flashcards. So you'll have a physical flashcards as well as those online flashcards.
Yeah. In your group classes, how much time do you dedicate to the games? I mean, is that most of the class, or are you doing
Oh,
like
no.
or,
Most
like,
of the class would be the playing music,
okay, so
rhythm, and improv and
yeah,
composition and scales, and there's just so much to incorporate in a lesson. That's why a lot of people are scared of games. They don't want to take too much time. But like I said, we save a little bit. It depends too on how they're doing with all of their things we need to do. Sometimes,
Mhm.
and I make it different. I've said this in a presentation before. It is so important to change it up for kids. They
Yeah.
show up, hey, we're playing a game right away. That's exciting. Oh, I'm motivated. Let's play.
Yeah.
Sometimes, hey guys, we've got to get right to our ensemble. Let's play this a few times. And once it's sounding pretty good, let's play a quick game for a break. And
Okay.
then sometimes at the end, hey, we've done such a good job. We have 2 minutes left. Let's see if we can get to, this point of this game to review kind of the concepts we've talked about. So really it's what is best for you and your studio and your students and that lesson.
Yeah, it's a great motivational tool to get them coming and get them going. So that's
They
fantastic.
love it. If they
Yeah.
don't get a game, they're like, why did we not get a game today?
Yeah. I've come from a Suzuki teaching background, so like games are pretty incorporated in just the way I've always taught. But I feel that some teachers have the excuse of like, or just are afraid that parents may have pushback, like, oh, if they're
Yes.
paying all this money, I don't want to play a game. But
When
like,
it's actually one of the ways they learn the most. So
yeah, I agree. Awesome. Thank you, Jodie. That was fantastic.
thank you for letting me present.
Of course, Marcy. Let's hear about some adult students.
I just wanted to mention something that I hadn't put in my talk, but Jody made me think of it. So adults, students, in my experience, are notorious for not wanting to do flashcards or paper homework or anything like that. And now that I have the Practice Space app, I got this brainstorm. Note reading for beginners can be challenging. But we're all programmed to respond to text. So I started texting them. I made up little flashcard videos and flashcard images. I would text them like one a day, and they were writing me back. And so I'm like, mission accomplished. So it's another thing that Practice Space can do.
That's fantastic.
Pretty cool. Okay, so I will share. And there we go. Okay, so we already talked a little bit about why I started using Practice Space with the backing tracks. And I've found that the best way to introduce it is just to have people in the class and have them bring their devices in the class and actually show them how to get on board. We're all pretty good at phones now, although I do have some seniors, and so I give them a little extra help getting logged in. And if they don't have their phone with them, then I'll offer to troubleshoot outside of class. At the beginning, that's the hardest part. If you can get them onboarded and using it, then it's pretty easy. So that's what I do at the very beginning. So how to make learning relevant with music adults actually want to play. And that is Perhaps one of the biggest difference between adults and children is adults have big aspirations and ideas of what they want to play. They want to play real sounding music that they've heard streaming or on the radio. And if you hand them a book, a traditional music book that has Michael Row Your Boat Ashore and Mary Had a Little Lamb, they will be very disappointed, even though for note reading, we do need to start with just reading one note at a time. So my workaround for this has been to start not with reading notes, but to start with chords. And I don't use the full chord, I use the chord shell. So you're using your outside fingers. And then for the first beginner students, we don't play them together either. We do a little arpeggio. And then we'll use chord charts the same way that guitarists do. So they're reading little finger patterns in each home bass or 5-finger position, which makes it also easy to add sustain pedal if they want to, if you're playing several in a row, and that gives an even bigger sound and it's even more satisfying. And the other way the backing tracks come in, so I use the backing tracks even when we're doing that, because it gives them a bigger sound. It gives them musical context of what it would sound like without just their few notes that they're playing. They get a bigger picture. And then when you're moving on to note reading, it's even more important because now you're stuck playing one note at a time, but you can hear how it fits into context of the musical structure. And also it's really good for their rhythm and listening skills, that sort of thing. So building confidence and community in an adult group piano class. And what I have found is just having the adults in the group, a lot of that takes care of itself. Another question I used to get asked a lot when I taught privately was, how am I doing? Am I doing all right? And of course I would say, well, you're doing great. You're doing just fine. But then I kept getting asked the question over and over and over again, which told me that they weren't really trusting my reassurances, even though I kept giving them. And what happened when I switched to teaching groups is that question just went away. I don't think I've even been asked that question because I think because they're sitting in the group and they're experiencing this with each other, they can look around and see for themselves that everybody is doing fine and they don't really feel the need to ask me for reassurance anymore. Some other ways to build confidence in the group is to give people permission to engage in different ways. We do not have the expectation that we're going to play everything perfectly. I like to say perfection is for machines, and we're not machines, we're humans. The other thing is to give people options for how to engage. So we always emphasize learning one hand at a time, but you can continue to play just one hand at a time, especially if you're in the group, you don't feel like you're ready to keep up with the backing track with both hands, or if you're not quite ready to even play all the notes or every section. I like to say play the notes that you're ready to play when we're playing together with the group. And I also like to compare our experience to visual artists. If you've ever watched them work and they'll make a sketch with lines of something that will eventually be a painting. And none of us would ever think of walking into a visual artist as they're working and look at that sketch and go, that is awful. That's terrible. Why do you think that you could be an artist? That looks horrible. Because it's in the middle of their process and they're not done yet. And I like to emphasize that as musicians, we have the exact same process. And so as we're playing, we don't need to expect everything to be done and finished. We are working on it. And that has been very helpful, I think. So let's see, what have I missed here? The ability to text each other in the group has been also a nice perk. So I can text them flashcards, but also they can text each other, and that builds a little extra community as well. All right, adapting pacing for different skill levels and goals. I already talked about options. I also like to encourage the students to have opinions and preferences. I like to say it's okay to hate a piece and not everybody's going to like the same thing. And it's also okay for the person over here to love the exact same piece. And we're working on things as a group, but we might not always be engaging in the exact same way, and that's okay as well. I'm continually checking in on them, and I try to avoid the word progress and use the word experience more. So how is your experience in class? How are you feeling? What are we doing that's working for you? What do you think needs a little bit more work? And so a lot of listening going on. Um, Using resources, communication, and structure to keep adult students engaged. So I already talked about encouraging preferences. And part of the reason for that is that adults have a lot of desires of what they really wish they could play. So as soon as we get past our foundational level, I start taking wish lists and writing them down. I really wish I could play Elton John. I really wish I could play the Dixie Chicks or whatever it is. And then I start looking for ways that they could possibly do that. And chords, again, is our in to make things a little easier than they would be otherwise. Part of the reason that I can have that kind of freedom is because we do have a structure, a base curriculum that we have as our foundation that we're going to build off of. And part of the way I get buy-in for that is explaining as we go along. The reason we're learning these 5-finger patterns is because you're going to see them a lot. And if we put them in your fingers now, they'll be ready when it's time for you to play your favorite thing. And if we have a new piece, I might point out the concepts that are being introduced here or reviewed and what this piece is doing. With the caveat that if you don't like this one, especially if the whole group doesn't like it, there's a lot of music in the world and we can learn this concept on a different piece. So that ties in again to student autonomy. With adults, I went into this teaching adults saying, I'm not going to try to make them do anything. They're adults, they're going to decide how they want to engage. I will be their guide. And so, for example, for the backing tracks, not all of my students actually use the backing tracks. Some of them are all in and they play everything with the backing tracks and they're very diligent. Some of them use them occasionally. And then I have a couple in particular that they openly admit, I don't use the backing tracks. But the thing is, they're coming to class, they're engaging. It doesn't fluster them to play in the group with the backing tracks. So there's not really a problem. They've figured out what works for them, and I'm going to let them do it, basically. I would say listening is probably one of my biggest roles with adult students, and being proactive about checking in and building an environment where they feel free to share, feel free to have opinions, to say if things are going well or not well. And then that's kind of a cycle of me remembering to ask them and to check in and to listen and then also respond, because if people understand that they say something and then it doesn't matter, it doesn't change anything, then they'll probably stop saying something. And then what I noticed, the one thing I did not put in my presentation, it's a big reason, a big motivator for adult piano lessons, that it is super, super fun. I look forward to my classes every day, and oftentimes at the end of the day, I will just say to myself as everybody's leaving, I love my job. This is awesome. So you might want to think about looking into adult lessons at some time. I think for me, it's been a great investment. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to unshare here.
I could shut it off for you. There you
we
go.
Okay, thanks.
I love it. I love that you ended on such a positive note as well. You know, loving your job is, you know, it's can't wake up every day excited, you know. So, fantastic. I have a couple questions for you with just the adults using practice space. When I meet with teachers who are interested in using practice space, one of the biggest, I feel, questions and concerns from a prospective teacher is, you know, how do I get an adult excited about this? The adults won't like the avatars, you know, like this is for kids, but we didn't make this for kids. You know, I mean, most of the students I use it with are high school, and we have tons of studios out there using it with adults. So my question for you is, how do you present it to your adult students when you tell them that you're using practice space?
Oh, okay. So I really present it as utilitarian. This is where we find our backing tracks. This is where I put all the notes for the lesson. You can, and I also have tutorials for if you miss class. This is where you can find all this stuff. And then they'll eventually ask me about all the bells and whistles and things. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing any of the prizes and stuff, but if you want to keep track of your practice, you can do it here. Most of my adults really are not interested in all that other stuff. I have a couple that might be keeping track of their practice in there. And then I have a couple that recently I learned they were worried that I was watching how much they practiced. And I'm like, actually, I don't pay any attention to that. If you want me to, I could. That's the other thing about listening. Is like if they all decided they wanted to earn gems, then definitely we would do it. But so far, it has enough functionality, enough different ways you can engage with the platform, and we're getting exactly what we want out of it.
That's great. Yeah, we made it versatile on purpose. Thank you for explaining that. That's fantastic. Someone asked, my high school students don't want to use it. I can't understand why. Any tips for teens? Does anyone have any teenage students here using it? If not, I can answer as well.
Progress beans.
Progress beans, yeah.
Say actually high school is my favorite because it's just like I have babies right now, but I'm like, I love teaching the older students because it really is about like the having a prize or something and being like, you can do this, work towards, if you do this on practice space, making it more motivating for them to do it.
Yeah, and I think with teenage students, it really depends on how you frame it to them. If you kind of come to them and say, hey, we're going to use practice space, it has these little kid avatars, you're probably not going to like it. So, but yeah, use it. They're not going to be into it. You have to go and explain to them, like, we have an awesome leaderboard. We have practice streaks. I can put custom awards in the store. And then they're going to already be intrigued, especially with the leaderboard. And one thing we do at our school is, with the streaks, we have a board on the wall for 100-day challenge. So every time a student gets to 100 days, they get a plaque on the wall, and they're on the wall of fame. If they get to 1 year and beyond, we have a separate huge plaque with like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. And just the point that, the teenage students see that they want to be a part of the wall of fame. They want to get their photo with their certificate, and it's all tied in with practice space. So I think just explaining to the students that it's not just about the avatars. There's so much more to it. They'll definitely be engaged and want to try it. And they're not going to want to be left off the leaderboard with all their friends on it too. So
Right. Positive peer pressure too. Chris,
Yeah.
and I'm trying with my teens. These kids are busy. No, and as school starts this week, I'm just trying to remind them that any practice is progress, and that really, and everybody will have a different take on this. But with my teens, I do expect practice, but still come if you didn't. But I want you to see the progress that you make, even with 10 minutes of practice a day. And let's track this so you can kind of compare at the end of the week and go, I did make some progress, and I can fit in 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever you can do as a busy teenager and still make progress. So I want them to have that feeling that I can still do this. I can still manage this. I'm a busy teen, but I can fit it all in. I can make time for this.
Yeah, I agree 100%, especially with the students coming in who are like going into their junior year. It's like automatically a lot of parents are like, oh, they can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna have to stop. I'm like, no, like, this is the best time for them. Like, they're close to college. They can use it on their supplemental applications.
Yeah. Don't give it up now. I know all this stuff.
You spent all this time and put all this effort in. And, like, I know that, a lot of these kids aren't going to become professional musicians. So the practice is important. Like, I'm not going to let a student swing with, like, coming into a lesson with no practice. They still have to put in some time. But like you said, 10, 15 minutes, I'm okay with that. This is not something that they're required to do. It's something that they're doing because they love it. And we don't want to make them stressed. And as long as they're putting in a little bit of time and putting in some effort, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. A little bit of effort still makes some progress. So
Totally. Let me see if there's any questions here. Thank you all for your presentations, by the way. That was amazing to hear all these different insights and so many different ways that, you guys teach, and also different ways that you use practice space. This is already, I'm taking notes too. So let's see, we have a question here for all the presenters. I ask my students what can make it more fun or what are more motivating, and they always say play songs that we know or love. But in a group setting, that is really hard. How do you attack them learning music they love? Attract them, I guess, maybe to learning music they love.
Well, I figure that if one kid likes the song, chances are pretty good the rest will like it. And if they don't, we're going to spend a week on it. And I do, Marcy is key. These chords, if these kids can play chords, if you introduce that, even the open chord shells, then I give out lead sheets. So I love the beginner. It's called beginner notes version lead sheets on Music Notes. And it's not beginner. I don't know why they call it, but it has all the letters written in so they can play the melody and then chord symbols and all the popular pieces there too. So we don't spend a ton of time on it, Chris, but like I said, rarely do I have like the kids like, no, I don't want to play that. And it's like, well, then you can choose not to, but this is what we're doing for this week. But most of the time, they all kind of like the same things.
Yeah.
And you rotate, give everybody a turn. Okay, it's your turn this week.
And then I do it kind of in a different way. I do a little bit of group and then I do a little bit of rotations as well. So they get to pick a song that they love for individually. And it's kind of like let's work on it a little bit and then you can play it for us, and they get practice because sometimes at the beginning of lessons, I'll have them play what they practice for their solo piece and say, all right, show us. And it's good practice presenting and I guess not presenting, but performing in front of their peers is doing kind of their own song. But we don't spend too much time doing those rotations, but that is a way. So they just have different activities. Like someone's on Sprout Beat, someone's on Piano Marvel, and I'm just doing a quick 5-minute helping them with their solo.
Awesome. Great. I think that's all the questions we have. I just wanted to read one comment that Luann made. I thought was really nice. She said that I have a nearly blind adult who has told me many times that she wouldn't have gotten as far without practice space. So I thought that was a really nice comment in there that Luann dropped in. So it's fantastic. Well, if there's no other questions, I want to thank you all again for joining us. Jodie, Marie, Marcy, you're all wonderful teachers. We're so happy to have you part of the Practice Space family and be such longtime users. And thank you everyone out there for joining us for today's webinar. Again, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial. Just go to practicespaceapp.com, get started. You can book a demo and have a one-on-one demo session with me or Robert, and we'll show you all the ins and outs on how to use Practice Space in any situation. Solo teacher, large studio, we can do it all. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.